So tonight is January 12th, 2021. It is 7:05 p.m. We have a quorum of the Health and Social Services Committee, Committee Board 11. Present for the quorum is the chair of the committee, Joseph Baycoat, co-chair Sandra Unger, Joanne Rubino, and Melanie LaHose. And Joe, do you want to press star 6 and you want to start us off? Let me mute everybody first, and then I'll just unmute you, Joe. Okay. All right, Joe, you're unmuted. Joe?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Joseph Baycoat, Chairman of the Committee of Health and Social Service Committee. We are now in our meeting starting. We have a speaker, and I would like for Maricela to introduce the speaker.
Great. Good evening, everyone. So very nice to see those who I can see their faces, and it's nice to hear everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for having us. There's been several inquiries about what's happening at the hospital with regards to COVID. We've received several questions, not only from your board, but from other boards. And so we wanted to come today to this meeting just to give you guys an update on the status of the Weiler campus specifically. And so today we have Margaret Millar. She's the AVP for the Weiler campus. She will be able to provide you guys with just a brief summary of the current condition of the hospital. So without further ado, Margaret, you may begin your update.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak with you this evening. So from what Mariella shared, there were some questions around what have we done to plan for the COVID surge, and we certainly are seeing that surge occur. We're in a much better position than we were back in the spring when COVID hit, because we were just basically reacting. This time we've had experience, so we've had an opportunity to plan for what we would do if a surge occurred again. So right now at the Weiler campus, we have increased our med-surg bed capacity by 21 beds, and we increased our critical care bed capacity by 17 beds. Every patient that comes into our emergency department, not just at the Weiler campus, but anywhere in the medical center, is tested for COVID. And we record what our positivity rate is. So right now for the Montefiore Medical Center, which is across the 4 hospitals in the Bronx, our positivity rate is around 19%, which means out of 19% of our patients coming through the ED are testing positive for COVID. And about 50% of that group is being admitted. More specifically to the Weiler campus, our positivity rate is about 17%. Slightly lower than the average across the medical center, but our admit rate is higher. We're admitting 56% of our patients who test positive for COVID. So to give you some background on a frame of reference, in the peak in March, our average census for COVID positive patients was around 298 here at the Weiler campus. As of this morning, we had 98 COVID positive patients in-house. So even though we're seeing a surge, it's nothing of the magnitude that we saw back in the spring. So I'll pause there for a while to see if there are any questions before I go on further.
So Sandy or Joe, if you need to talk, remember it's star 6 to unmute yourself, or Melanie. You had a question?
Hi, this is Manuel from the community board. Margaret, I heard that your numbers start at 98. Is that as of today, you said?
Today, at the Weiler campus, our COVID positive census, those are patients admitted to our facility. We are at 98 patients.
Okay. What are you doing to keep your numbers low? I work for the Mount Sinai Hospital, so I work for the executive administration, and we check our numbers every day. And today we ended with 73 currently. I just left the building not too long ago. So we're at 73 with 2 deaths, which is low for the numbers we had back in the spring. And we're trying to continue to keep the numbers low. We're only a little bit lower than at your campus, but I'm wondering what do you feel is being worked on the best or being done the best to keep these numbers down aside from admission?
Well, I mean, obviously we are, it's same message that we're having to all of our patients, that, the whole idea of, masking, washing your hands, taking all of those precautions. We are screening every patient, everyone, not only patients, because all of our associates are screened every single day as they come into the organization, and they have to be cleared for work. I'm sure they're doing the same at your facility. We're screening everyone that enters our building, even if they're in for a test. Patients can have someone accompany them if they're coming in for surgery or for procedure, can accompany them for the registration and the intake process, but we're not allowing people to wait in our waiting rooms. So they leave and they're called when their loved one is ready, and they come back to pick them up. So we're trying to limit, of course, we're limiting people congregating or any large groups of people, in any locations. And that's why most of our waiting rooms are not open for folks to wait. Everyone's coming in now by appointment. So they have a scheduled time to come in for whatever activity they're coming for in the building. And like I said, we're continuing to screen and continue to get the message out about taking all of the safety measures that are out there. And we've started, of course, vaccinating, the vaccinations have started, certainly started for our staff first in that first phase. All staff that are patient-facing or interacting with patients are offered the opportunity for a vaccination. And I know today the governor just expanded that to go to what is called the 1B category, which is now patients over 65 and patients in other areas that are interfacing with the public frequently, like teachers, firefighters, all of those frontline folks. Now it has been expanded to them also.
Okay. Would you happen to have the numbers of how many of your staff actually received the vaccine?
No, I do not have that. We are tracking that, but I do not have that number at the top of my head. No.
I just wanted.
We're having ongoing campaigns. No, we're having an ongoing campaign, of course, because the vaccine is not mandatory. I'll be quite candid. So we're encouraging everyone, just like we do with the flu vaccine every year, to take the vaccine. It was, like I said, available first to those frontline patient-facing providers, staff. And when I say that, I don't only mean clinical staff. It was available to our housekeepers, our tray passers, our lab techs, our radiology techs. Everyone that interacts with patients were in that group that could get the vaccine. So we're continuing to educate. We have our vaccines are being offered 7 days a week. We're open until from 6 a.m. until midnight every day, so that we can catch people on all shifts. So we're making it very convenient for our staff to receive their vaccines.
You definitely are. The reason I ask you is because we are also having an active campaign to make sure that all of our staff knows about the availability of the vaccine and is also encouraged to get the vaccine. And a lot of things in healthcare start at the top. They start with leadership. If you see other people doing things and you encourage them, then they'll also want to get the vaccination as well. And as a group, we all achieve the numbers that we want to achieve. And, unfortunately, as of Friday, we could only get 2,000 of our staff to get the vaccine, leaving another 3,000 out. And that for us is a big number because that's not even half of our staff. And when we question our staff, why don't you want the vaccine? Because it's not mandatory. We can't force it on people. But we do want to know how else can we encourage not only our staff members who are interacting with COVID or could interact with it, just walking along the hallway, but then move that on to our community and continue encouraging people for the vaccine. So we're doing a lot
of outreach. We, as leaders, we're rounding in all of our departments. We're talking, having one-on-one conversations with staff. We've had lots of town hall meetings. We've had our senior medical leadership staff do Q&A sessions. I've even reached out to 1199, which is one of our large unions, and they are also doing a lot of outreach. As a matter of fact, I just saw a flyer today that came out for 1199 that they're having their medical director do a Q&A session via a webinar tomorrow evening. So we're trying to use every avenue to promote the vaccine and to encourage staff to take it.
Okay, Sandy, you
Okay,
had a
wonderful.
question or comment?
No,
Sandy?
what I had, am I unmuted?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, we can hear you.
To take it one step further, what will Montefiore be doing since now there are more people eligible to get the vaccine? How are they going to deal with it? How are they going to help the community get the vaccine sooner than later?
Well, the state, this Department of Health and the city has set out guidelines. There is a website that you have to go to register to get the vaccine.
I know that.
And there's
understand.
there's an attestation that you have to complete that say you qualify and meet the criteria that the state has set forth for the vaccine. And then you have, part of that is what is called COVID vaccine finder, and you click on that. I think based on your zip code, all of the Montefiore facilities that are administering the vaccine will come up, and you can select the one that you want to go to, and then I think there's a someone gets in touch with you to give you an appointment.
Well, I don't know when that happened, because when I looked on Sunday, I didn't see Montefiore at all. All right, I will have to check again. Thank you.
Our FAQs, they're all there listed. There's several of them listed.
All right, I will check again. Thank you.
The other thing to add also for you, Sandy, is that we are working also with our MMGs, which are our primary care facilities. They are working to roll out also the best way to get the current patients vaccinated. Because things just happened on Monday, you know, the expansion of the age eligibility for the vaccine just happened on Monday. They're still figuring things out, but that will happen.
I know.
Yeah. Well, the eligibility change of age changed today. On Monday, it was 75. Today, it was changed to 65.
To 65, right.
Yes, just today.
Great. Hazel, Joanne, or Mr. Bako, do you have questions? If so, Joe, just remember *6 is to unmute yourself. No? If not, we'll turn it over to the public. So, I did put a question in there about Westchester Square. Mariella said she'd get me info about that, because we do have board members that do go to that facility, Westchester Square Hospital. Tiz Natasio had a question about the age group where we're seeing the most positive numbers at Montefiore, if that's possible, if you have that information.
That I do not have. I do not have information by age.
Okay. Is that information we can get?
I'm not sure if we're tracking it by age.
Okay. If you could,
we track it by the number of patients, but I don't know that we track it by age group.
Okay, if you could find out and get back to us, we'd appreciate it.
I will ask that question, and I will send that communication back through Mariella.
Great. Anybody else?
And you're asking that, I'm sorry, are you asking that specifically for the Weiler campus?
Tiz, did you specifically concern about Weiler or the whole system?
Our community board, Weiler, Jacoby, Westchester Square. I'm just curious if it's more teenagers or if it's elderly.
I don't know, but I will ask if we track by age group here at Weiler, and if I can get that information, I will share it with Mariella so she can send on that communication.
Thank you.
It might be like maybe of the 98 patients we have in-house, maybe what percentage, and they might be age ranges. It won't be specific. You know, it might be.
That's just as good. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and Mariella too, you know, Westchester Square if possible, just because we have people that go there.
Well, at Westchester Square doesn't admit, so the question would be people coming to their ED.
That are being,
what percentage are coming to their ED that are positive, and by age group. So that's because that wouldn't be, they don't admit at Westchester Square.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a very good point. Okay. Robert, you had your hand up?
Yeah, question. Montefiore is in several spots in the Bronx. They have a place in Co-op City. They have a place in Norwood and here down in Community Board 11. Are all the sites getting the same percentages of infection rates?
Sir, I don't know that. I only know based on the people coming to our emergency department.
Okay, because it was said that Wakefield has the highest in the Bronx. Last week, it was said by Errol Lewis of New York One to Mayor de Blasio. And I watch the mayor's press conference every day, and he keeps complaining there aren't enough doses of the vaccine because you have to get 2 doses, not just one.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are two, yeah. So I can tell you that based on the data that I have for today, the Wakefield Hospital, their percent positive coming through their ED was at 25%, and 50% of those patients were admitted. Whereas Weiler sat at 17% of our ED patients were positive, and we had a 56% admission rate.
So that's up then from 18.25 from last week.
But it can change, it changes every day. This is a daily number, a snapshot in the last 24 hours. How many patients came into ED and how many were positive? Tomorrow, that number could be very different.
Right, and if I heard, my last comment, Jeremy, here. And if I heard you correctly, you said that currently we are worse than what it was last year at this time?
No, not at all. I said we're far better off than where we were in the spring, because I said last year in the spring at the peak, at the Weiler Hospital, our peak, we had like 298, almost 300 patients in-house that were COVID positive. Today, we have 98. That's about 1/3 less, you know, of the peak number.
So 25% is not worse than last time? That would equal 75% last time.
No, I'm saying that at the peak, we had almost 300 patients in our census that were COVID positive. Today, we have 98.
I'm talking about the outside population, not the hospital population.
I don't know about the outside population, sir. I can only speak to the numbers here at the hospital.
Thank you.
Okay, I can only speak to the numbers in the hospital.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joanne, you had something? Or no? You're muted. Unmute.
You're muted.
I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. What is the policy on nursing home patients? I know, do they stay in Einstein until they're negative, or the policy is to have them come back to the nursing home?
So it's not an Einstein policy. The Department of Health, State Department of Health has guidelines. And right now, patients must test negative before they're returned to the nursing home. And I know that when they get to the nursing home tests those patients again.
Okay, I do know of an individual case where he was positive. They thought he was going to be they thought he was going to be discharged when he was negative, but he was discharged, he was still positive. That was an anecdote. That's something that the nursing home director told me.
I mean, I can tell you, we've had patients that has tested negative and positive and then negative again, or vice versa.
I see.
So sometimes patients going to a nursing home gets 2 tests before they leave.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the policy is, if you have a negative COVID test on the day that patient is medically ready for discharge, because the nursing home wants to see that test result. They don't just take the patient without it. We have to, part of the information we send to them is the results, is the lab results for the COVID test.
Okay. Well, it must have been an odd thing then.
Yeah. They don't just take our word. That has to go, all of that information goes with the patient's medical record, and they want to see that COVID test negative.
Right, but the nursing home said, I'm very surprised, but he was admitted, he was sent back to us and he was still positive. Says they put him on the COVID floor, but he was still a surprise. She says, I'm really surprised they did that.
But did they not get that? They should have gotten a COVID test result. I don't.
They did, and yeah, I know that's an odd thing, but that's what the director said. I don't know.
Okay.
So
and they are testing them when they get there again. They're doing another test also. I don't know if it's the same test that we do, but we do the PCR test. I don't know if they're doing a rapid test. I don't know what type of test they're doing at the nursing homes.
So the PCR test, is that a test that takes a couple of days? Is that?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Yes.
takes longer than just a rapid test. I'm just saying that to say it's not that 15-minute test that you hear about in the
Right,
news.
right, right. Yeah,
That's not the test that we use here.
okay. All right,
Sandy?
thank you.
So I just want to make something clear. So before you discharge a patient and you give them the long-term or the test that takes 2 or 3 days, come back. So they still remain in the hospital until you get the result, correct?
Yeah, it might be back faster than 2 or 3 days because it goes to our internal lab, but it goes to our lab and the patient is not discharged to the nursing home until we have that result.
Right, because I do know that the rapid test can have a lot of false negatives.
Right. That's not the test that we use for patients here in the
Okay.
hospital.
So you have,
So
That's
Go
why I
ahead, Sandy.
specifically mentioned the PCR test because that is what we use.
all right, and it's done in your lab.
Well, yeah, it goes to our lab. Yeah, it's not done the rapid test is kind of done right there on the spot. I mean, we don't use it in the hospital, but I think like it's going to the airport or something. I think they kind of do the test and they run it right there. It goes to our laboratory.
Right, but it's not as accurate. It's not as accurate as the other test. All right, thank you.
yeah, there's a 60% fail rate, I believe, for a rapid test. So
Yeah, it's very high.
Yeah.
And they charge you like $40 or $50 if someone wants to take it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it if you know what I mean.
So is your lab in-house or do you have to ship it out?
Yeah, Montefiore has a very huge lab, yes.
Yeah, but
But it's
on the
not.
Weiler campus, or it has
We
to
have
go?
a lab on the Weiler campus and our larger, bigger lab for a lot of the more highly sophisticated tests sometimes go to Moses, but we have a full-blown lab here at the Weiler campus.
And in terms of, so I know you talked a bit about vaccinations. I don't know exactly what I missed. Do you guys administer vaccinations, just not to your staff, but to the public? I don't know if you covered that.
Well, it just opened up to the public, and I told you the COVID Finder website,
Right.
and you have to go on through the state, and you have to register, and there's an attestation statement that has to be filled out on that website and submitted.
Right, so you're not going to find out. So they're going to get in touch with you
Yes,
when they
get in
have
touch,
the-
exactly.
So you're
And you
like
have
on
to
a
say,
wait
and you
list.
have to say, if you want to have, it's almost an attestation. You have to say that you're eligible for the vaccine and that you have in-person contact with members of the public. And you have to be a first responder, like I said, fire, police, teachers. They have very specific, if you go to the website, it's about
Yes, I know.
7-page long document. And the facilities are really being held to the standards. So we have to have the attestation statement that people are saying, I am eligible. And then I think there might be some points where they require a ID, maybe. Let's just say I'm a firefighter or something. They may ask for your ID when you come in, because anyone can fill out the form online, but when you show up, you might have to show proof that you're in the category that you
Right.
say you're in.
And that's a 2-part, or is that a 2-part? You get one shot and then you get
No, you
another
have
one?
to fill out the form online and then someone will reach out to you to schedule your appointment.
No,
I'm
no,
saying that
no.
when you
And
show up for your appointment, you may have to show ID.
But yes,
Not
Jeremy,
me, you have to show ID.
the vaccine is you need two doses.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. The vaccine, it's 2 doses. So there are 2 vaccines. The Pfizer vaccine is the first dose, the second dose in 21 days. The Moderna vaccine, first dose, second dose, 28 days later. And those are the 2 vaccines that Montefiore are administering.
Right, and the Pfizer is the one with the very, very cold temperatures.
Yes,
correct?
that's the one
Right.
that has the more strict requirements for storage, etc. So the Moderna vaccine does not have those same storage requirements. So that is the vaccine that's being used in our outpatient location, because they don't have the sophistication and the wherewithal with all of the freezers and everything like we do in the hospital to store the Pfizer. So the Pfizer is being used in the hospital setting, and the Moderna is being used in our outpatient locations.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, you guys have generators, right, on campus? That's like, you need generators because you have life-saving equipment, right? You have people.
Oh, absolutely. And all of the freezers have alarms on them, and the alarms go out to, like, I don't know how many people. I think I'm also on the list to get the alarm if our freezer here, the temperature goes below where it needs to be for whatever reason. But not only for this freezer, we have medications all the time that we have to store at certain temperatures. So all of our medication refrigerators have alarms on them, and they're tracked and monitored every day, and we have to have those reports. If a regulatory agency come in, we have to see those reports. They look to see if that refrigerator failed at any point in time and what did we do to correct it. So there's a lot of regulatory requirements, not just around this vaccine. This vaccine has some unique requirements for storage because of the colder temperature, but we monitor medications all the time that require refrigeration and temperature.
Yeah, because I know of it, because that's good. So you're able to, like right now, are you able to physically check how a refrigerator is doing? Or you just get the notice if something goes wrong?
Well, we have the refrigerators are in the pharmacy, and we have our pharmacists that are there all the time. But if that refrigerator falls below a certain range, it will alarm. And there's several people that gets the notification that's alarming. But there's somebody right there in the pharmacy that will check it and address the issue.
That's if the alarm doesn't fail, which I believe in San Francisco, something like that happened.
Well, let's knock on wood. We've not had that issue here.
Right. Let's think positive, Jeremy. Let's just think positive.
Well, I mean, look, not everybody probably realizes that happened in San Francisco, where they they talked about it. Hey, look, and Montefiore did something in the one in New Rochelle or Mount Vernon. They gave it to the wrong people, and they had to return the rest of their vaccines. So things happen, but I like to think positive.
Yes, positive.
And then in terms of, since you brought up the pharmacy, coincidentally enough, a board member reached out to me about somebody they knew that got laid off because of a takeover of a pharmacy by Walgreens. And in terms of like jobs with Montefiore.
In terms of a takeover of which pharmacy?
I don't know.
Not Montefiore's pharmacy.
No.
Okay.
What I'm getting at is if somebody's unemployed who's a pharmacist or in that field and they want to go, are job applications readily available? Or I mean, positions? I know a while ago, I think Mariella would email me stuff, but.
All of our positions are posted on our website.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
I was going to say the same thing, Margaret.
Are we hiring, by the way, currently, Montefiore?
We hire if we have vacancies, yes.
Okay, but you don't know offhand, right?
If you have a chance, Jeremy, you can scroll through any and all available positions for all of our campuses are listed on the website, and they do try to keep it up to date. So it's pretty accurate.
Okay, I'll look through it, and if I have questions, I'll reach out to you, Mariella.
Yes.
Okay. And just for the board members' purposes, I don't know if it matters, you're going to be on leave soon, right? So we'll have somebody else to.
Yeah, so I will begin my maternity leave sometime next week. I have connected Jeremy with Jason Caraballo from my office. So if you guys have any questions, you need any other presentation, Jeremy can contact Jason and he will follow up.
Thank you.
Well, maybe Jason should also, am I talking to Mariella?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Maybe then he should have also the contact information for Joe and myself.
I can send an introductory email later this evening. Not a problem.
All right. Right. This way we'll know if the connections are being made, etc. Okay. Thank you. And good luck.
Thank you.
And did you mention current capacity where you're at? I mean, I seen from what I've seen online, it looks like the Bronx is doing pretty well compared to Westchester in terms of overall capacity as well as just as well as COVID capacity?
What do you mean capacity? You're talking about a bed capacity for admissions?
Yeah, so you can go, I forget what site, I think through NPR I find you can look at each county and how each
Yeah.
basically hospital is doing in terms
Yeah.
of not just normal capacity, but COVID capacity. So
Yeah.
as far as that last I checked, Montefiore was doing pretty good.
Well,
At
I
least the
have to
Bronx.
tell you, yeah, the Bronx has been doing better than I have to say then, because, you know, Montefiore Medical Center in the Bronx is part of our larger health system. And we're doing better than some of the counties in the other, in some of the hospitals in the other counties in terms of bed capacity.
Good, great. Let me unmute Joe.
But something to say about capacity. The governor has set an executive order where the hospitals have to do what he calls balance load, which means that patients can be transferred to other hospitals if you are at capacity. So within the Montefiore hospitals in the Bronx, we do that. We will transfer people wherever they have the bed availability. And
Yeah,
that's an
which-
executive order. You have to have a plan to balance load your patients, is what he calls it.
Because historically, COVID aside, to my knowledge, if an ambulance comes to pick you up and you tell them, I want to go to Weiler, I don't want to go to Jacoby, aren't they legally, under normal circumstances, they're legally bound to take you to the hospital you want to go to? That was my.
I'm not sure. I know that they take you to the nearest hospital. I don't know if they're bound to take you to the one that you want to go to. I honestly, I'm not clear on that. So I won't.
Me either.
Okay. Let me unmute Joe just to make sure. Joe, did you have anything you need or want to say or ask? Mr. Bako?
What I would like for them to do, give us the information that we can register for an appointment. How do we go about doing that?
You got to go
Talk
through the
all about it.
website.
It's a
Everybody
state
talk about the
website. It's not
website.
Montefiore.
Mhm.
Do you have that information?
I can get it, Joe.
I can send it. I can send it to Mariella and have her send it on the link.
Yeah, I can look for it, Margaret. That's not a problem.
Okay. Okay.
Please send it on to me. I'm 85 years old and I can't get an appointment.
Yeah, there's a link. I did hear on the radio this morning that the mayor was talking also about a phone number, that he wants to set up a phone line where people can call in so that if everyone doesn't have access to a computer. So I just happened to hear that on the news this morning, but
Yes.
he says that it was in the planning stages because they have to have people to man the phone lines. So I don't know when that's going to be set up, but I did hear that on my car ride into work this morning.
Yeah, well, so Mariella will get back to me, Joe, and I'll get in touch with you.
Okay. Mariella, thanks
No
for
problem.
having the representative to come for us. We appreciate this very, very much. The committee, I know, appreciate this. And thanks again.
Well, thank you for allowing
Again,
me
I
the
wanna-
opportunity.
We want to thank you for giving the presentation. We certainly
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
that. And also to
Thank you.
answer the questions. Quite a few.
Thank you,
Right.
Joe.
Okay. Take care. Be
Thank
safe.
you for the
and
opportunity. Have a great evening, everyone. Take care.
Oh, you
Okay,
too.
Happy New
Thank
Year
you.
too.
Bye-bye.
And Happy
Awesome.
New Year to all of
Happy
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
So,
Okay.
Jeremy, I guess I will work on getting you guys the responses to your questions. I will make the connection via email to Sandra and to Joseph with my colleague. And then if you guys have any additional questions, just feel free to text me, call me, email me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
you're
again.
welcome.
Good luck again.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
You
Mariella.
too. Bye.
Yeah.
So, Joe,
Okay.
Sandy, did you want any old business you want to discuss?
Well, the old businesses, I am not even going to try to set up a new health fair yet because I think it'll be another year before we could even have it.
Right. So I
And
wish.
we don't even know if, like, if Bronx House will open up their doors to us, et cetera. It's just too far in advance to even think about it at this point.
Well,
Last year I was Last year I was lining up people at this time and they were very eager. But of course, all that fell through. So I just think we're going to have to put it on hold.
What about a health forum, like basically, or a remote one, like we're doing now, like a meeting? How about something like that instead, Sandy?
I don't know. It's something we have to think about, and then we'd have to organize and get all these people to talk about it. I think most of the community likes the hand-on thing, to meet with the people and talk. I don't know how well it would go here. I don't know. It's something we would really have to talk about and work on.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything big, right? Hazel, who's a member of the committee, had a housing forum back in the spring. It wasn't well attended, but also I think it was live streamed. We can't live stream with this, but it is a video, and anybody that wants to watch it could. So just keep it in mind.
It's something to think about. Yes.
Yes.
All right. We can do that. Any new business?
Yes.
I don't know.
No new business.
Joanne, you had something? You're muted. Let me unmute you. Go ahead.
The shelter. Normally, the shelters come to our meetings. It's housing. I was just curious as to why it went to housing and not to us. Not that, I'm sure they did a great job, but I'm very curious about that. Normally, we get the homeless shelters.
So we already have this meeting set up with Montefiore, and I know in the past it's kind of been like, well, Hazel's like, well, why is it there? Why is it not my committee? Sorry to put you on the spot, Hazel. But so I talked with Sandy and Joe, and we just thought it was easier. Hazel wants it. Let her deal with it. And
all right, Hazel.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, great.
Just curious.
Yeah, then we would have two in a row. But it worked out well because I read the notes of it. The organization seems to be very well prepared, especially with, their, because it's more like it's homeless, but they're not going to live there forever. It's more like transitional living. And it also seems that they're going to do a lot because they will have really hands-on and in-house help. So we shall see. We'll keep an eye.
Yeah, Sandy, that's what they all say. And,
I know.
And where they're placing it is not the right location for it. There's a building right there, right next to where they want to build this, that has luxury apartments, and I'm pretty sure the tenants and the owner of that building must be freaking out to have this kind of facility right next to their luxury building.
Right.
And also, it's close to a school, it's close to a lot of things, and even though they say that it's transitional, people can be in there for anywhere from 9 months to 2 years. So
right, I understand that.
The turnaround is going to be?
No, it won't be a fast turnaround because they have transitional living even at the psych center, and it's not, a few months. And the psych center also leased one of their buildings to the Bridge organization. I'm sure you're aware of that.
So Hazel, go ahead, Sandy.
No. I'm saying, Hazel, are you aware of that also? That the Bridge is on the campus of Bronx Psych, and that also is transitional living or single room occupancy where it's supposed to be somewhat transitional. But to me, nothing is ever really transitional.
Right, exactly.
Transitional to me would only be a few months, not a year or two, because then they become very complacent.
Yeah.
And they will look to stay there.
I think the people that are running the Lantern community services, they gave us a good presentation. It wasn't anything spectacular, and anything overwhelming that I wasn't really impressed, because I've seen presentations like that in the past, and it just
They're
makes
all-
me nervous that
Yep.
it sounds like too good to be true with these people.
You know what
and-
it is?
Yeah. Right.
They're giving a stock presentation to me.
Yeah.
It's not, geared towards really the community. It's just sounds good, and that's it. It's a stock thing. We would really have to keep an eye on it.
Definitely.
Where are they planning to put this? Where is it?
Stillwell
On
Avenue.
On
Stillwell
Stillwell
Avenue.
right off of Pelham Parkway South.
The horse, where the horse
Right,
A
yeah,
stables
Wait,
used to be,
right.
The horse baby
near
work?
there.
Right
There's
next to the equestrian, near the equestrian, correct?
Yeah, it's an auto repair shop now, which is another
Right.
thing
Right.
that concerns
And
me
it's,
because environmentally,
That's-
who knows what's in that ground and who knows is how much asbestos is in that building, because it looks like it's a really old building.
Mhm.
not only that, but look at all, there's really nothing there within easy reach for them to really go shopping or whatever, because it's all auto repair and all that other stuff when
Well,
you go down.
industrial.
And
Right.
it's very industrial, right? That's the word to use.
Yes.
It's not
Very
really
industrial.
conducive for living. I mean, I don't even know how the equestrian building, classifies itself, with the condos. It's hysterical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're
But
standing
that's
in
my
front,
opinion.
if you're standing in front
Yeah.
of the apartment building that took place at the stables, I guess it's called the Equestrian. It's to the
Yeah,
immediately
that's
to
it.
the
Yeah.
right. It's immediately to the right of it, Joe. If you're standing in front of
Uh-huh.
the Parkway looking at the big high rise, it's to the right.
Yeah. Joe and
Yeah,
I went
right.
there. Remember Joe, when we wanted to look at the apartment
Right. Yes.
and getting in and out of the parking lots. It's horrendous.
Is a problem. Right.
Yeah.
I guess they're hell bent on going there because it's as of right. So I think they think it's a done deal.
I don't know. I know those
Yeah.
folks who are in those apartments there, they're gonna have a fit.
They
Well,
are.
yeah, that's what Hazel said. But the other question is, don't they have to do environmental impact studies? I mean, yeah, they want to build and they say they have the right of way or whatever, but you have to make sure that there's no oil seepage, asbestos, all that other stuff, contamination. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot to think about.
And it's not
Well-
not only the equestrian building, up and down Rylander Avenue, which is like a block away, I think it is, or 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
There's a
Have
school.
condos and co-ops there also. So parking is going to be, parking is horrendous now. Can you imagine how many staff people are going to be in this building, and everybody's going to be fighting, to win the lotto, of parking.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And to even get down there by car, because today after I came out of my doctor's appointment, I happened to go down. I'm saying, oh my God, with all the auto repair and the double parking and the triple parking.
Right. That's right.
And they're not
That's
even
right.
and they're not even looking. It's lucky I go slow. One guy was pulling out and he would have hit me if I was going too fast because they didn't look. So
Right.
I don't know.
So,
But
go ahead, Sandy.
no. I'm fine.
So Hazel, I think,
Right.
did a good job last night.
Of course.
It was her committee.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we do have members of the public. I know Tiz asked a question, but I don't know if anybody else, we should allow for public comment. Tiz you were at the meeting last night, right, Tiz? And I don't know if you want to give your 2 cents on what happened, if you don't mind.
Well, I thought that the board handled it perfectly. The questions that the board asked were on target, and they were exactly the questions that needed to be asked. And I think you basically spoke for the whole community.
And one thing that really stuck out to me were a couple things. One, for whatever reason, they didn't seem to want to divulge the developer's name. 2,
Oh, interesting.
Two, they paid way above market value for the price of the property. Like, I forget, like,
More than twice. Yeah,
Yeah.
more than twice what it was worth.
and the rent per
Wow.
year.
Wait a minute, Jeremy, they pay twice without doing an environmental impact study or testing the ground waters and whatever?
Yeah,
Couldn't you have done that
Wow.
first?
Yeah, we specifically asked about that. If they have not done any studies yet, but they will, of course, because they have to.
You're paying for property and you don't
It's right
even
in back,
know.
it's in back of the,
That's absurd. And what
Well-
happens if there's all that contamination? What are they going to ask for their money back?
Well, the city, to my knowledge, has an opt-out lease. The city can opt out at any time. So,
Oh,
one, two, say they do the testing, you know, they say it's fine. Supposedly the rent per year is $3 million.
Three
oh
and a
my
half.
God.
That's not construction.
Well-
That's just rent.
Yep.
And
Three and
and
a half.
they are a not-for-profit. I wonder how much money they're getting, because usually the administrators get big bucks in these nonprofits.
Not
Um,
only that, the city came to them. They didn't even do I mean, they did an RFP after, but the city came to them. So they didn't get the property. through
thanks.
the RFP. And Mark was really getting at them for that because, you know, this guy, Daniel Rabinowitz, is who owns the property or whatever, and he owns a lot more, and he always makes these deals with the city, and he made a big contribution to the mayor's campaign. So Mark pointed all of that out to them yesterday.
Yeah, they don't like to talk about that, because I know my daughter has an environmental in engineering company, and they do all those kind of things. Test the waters, and that's why I'm aware. And how could anybody take over a property without first doing those environmental impact studies?
So another thing
What
that
are they
came up.
going to get?
Good.
Go ahead.
No, so
I
another thing I brought up was, so you have the Icon Charter School around the corner, and we have a former board member that lives in the area that was on our board from at least 1980 to 1997, if not earlier, because we don't have records beyond 1980, or we do, but it's few and far in between. And he always would complain to me, you know, I've done quite a few site visits at Icon because of the traffic congestion. And they have about 1,000 students. They have 3 schools, about 324 students per school. And they knew nothing about this until I spoke to them yesterday. So,
Wow.
Oh my God.
Maybe
So
it won't
it's-
happen. We can hope.
yeah, well, they
Yeah,
were
because
open.
they would be up in arms.
Well, you know, I specifically mentioned about relocating to a different part, like if we helped find a different location, and they said they would be open to that.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That sounds
Jeremy,
good.
but we tried that once before too. Nobody
That's right.
really wants it.
Yeah, well, the onus is going to be on us to find a spot
Find a place. Yes,
or deal with it.
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Well, at least we're all on the same page, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, we want to remember, like I said in my email to the board, you know, we understand that there's a need for homeless, and people said that very clearly. Nobody wants to, I mean, these people, you know, it's a vulnerable population, but at the same time, we would appreciate maybe a little bit more transparency from the city. I mean,
Right. And I like the way,
And
Jeremy,
it
one
can't
quick
always
thing.
be the Bronx. Staten
Right,
Island
but
has
I like-
none. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
yeah, they
No,
have
that's
one.
okay.
Just homeless. Are these just homeless people, or these are drug infested folks?
Homeless and mental health. That's what I heard,
Homeless
right?
and mental
Yeah,
health.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
therefore, they're going to. My thing was when I saw them, they said they have been living in the community or whatever. They had, they said some of the people will be from the community. And I thought, oh, are they going to claim that their home or their residence at one point was at Bronx Psych?
That's yeah,
Think about that.
That
Yeah.
could be.
And that's what hit me. I go, are they going to claim that while they were there as an inpatient? And
Remember-
therefore that's their community.
Wow,
Remember-
I never even thought of that. That
Well,
would've
you
been
see, I read that thing when you're sitting home and you're thinking, oh my God,
yeah, but
something, wow. Because it
Yeah,
did say some of them will be, they're claiming, or they claim that they will come from the community.
they're not
So-
coming, first of all, they're not coming
It
from the
said a
community.
little bit.
No, wait, Sandy, because the other proposed shelter is for 200 men, and then this one is supposed to be from 200 men that's 400 men. Where are all these men coming from? We don't
Oh,
we don't
wow.
have that many homeless
No, we don't.
community board 11.
No, we don't. So that's why, when they said you're coming from the community, I'm thinking, oh, are they going to use that? And also now, the other part of living in that same community is the Bridge Group, which took over the single room occupancy apartments on Bronx Psych.
So a couple things I want to clarify, and then Mr. Press has a question or comment. So remember, by law, they cannot, so somebody asked, like, will we get people from out of state? By law, the city cannot refuse shelter to anybody, regardless of origin. They can't discriminate. One. Two, men's shelters. So it's easier for the city to place non-men's shelters. Like, unfortunately, people like me, we're not as desirable when we're homeless. So the city's probably done a lot to put every other shelter around, and now it's coming down to men. So that's my take. I don't know statistically how accurate that is, but Bob Press had something you want to mention, Bob?
Yes, Jeremy. I'll put it to you this way. I've gone through this years ago on Community Board 8 when we got our first shelter.
Make it fast, Robert. Make it fast. Just say what you went through. Go ahead.
Thank you for interrupting me. Okay.
You're welcome.
There is a formula DHS has, which is less than 25% adult men, less than 25% adult women, and over 50% of families that are homeless for each community board. Community Board 11 has to get its act together and do something that you're not going to wind up with over 50% of adult homeless men. These people are coming from Rikers Island, where the mayor, who I get the question, said that, well, we have an over-influx since the new law came into effect, that we have too many extra homeless men and women. And obviously, they're sticking the homeless men up here in the Bronx. And just so you know, as I said yesterday, the Bronx has 37% of the homeless population. So this board needs to do something. All right. Plus, you're going to get ancillary services because they're going to need drug treatment, okay, and other problems that they have. So you're going to get more new services that you don't want either. Okay? That's what I got to say in a quick way, Sandy.
Fine, that makes, I understand that, but look at all the drug treatment we have. We have Bronx Psych. You have the outpatient drug right, off Eastchester Road. So we're going to have to add more and more. Don't they take that into consideration, what we already have here?
Again, the one of the sticking points yesterday was we're in a budget crisis. I mean, as you probably saw, if you've read some of my emails, I know there's a lot of them, but the city's cutting our budget again this year and next fiscal year. They already cut it once this year. They cut it once last year. The fiscal year runs from July to June. And generally when they do that, it's all across the board, a percentage. Like, we're going to cut every agency 1%. So we are still not in a good place. Everybody was hoping that, Biden would come in and bail us out. That, to my knowledge, hasn't happened yet. It may still happen, but until then, we got to swallow our spit and pull up our belt, basically. And so for it to be discovered or announced that, from what it seems like, maybe there's an error here, but to pay double or more market value, why do we have the money for this? I mean,
because the only thing I could think of is he said they made promises to take care of the homeless and to get them off the street.
Yeah, and what?
But the mayor talks, and sometimes he says things without really thinking through exactly what has to be done or how.
Yeah, it's definitely a campaign pledge or promise.
New.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a goal of the administration. This was a goal.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I don't know. Okay.
I mean, other people complain to me about COVID, and I had somebody complain to me earlier today about COVID, and I've raised that issue in the past. But remember, their mindset is that COVID will be over. It's just a matter of when, and so when it is over, then we'll go back to business as usual. But I think an argument against that as well is like, okay, great. What about the next pandemic, the next outbreak?
They're going to retrace the journey those ancestors.
Yeah, well, good point.
What they left behind in the homeland.
So anyway, so is there any other? I see we still have one caller, and I'm not sure who that is. But if you want to unmute yourself, you've pressed *6. I can try unmuting the person, see if they want to say anything. Other than that, I think that's it.
Okay,
That's
motion to adjourn.
Hold on, I just unmuted the person. I just want to make sure they don't have anything because I don't want them to complain later.
Do you know who the person is?
No, it says call in user 1. So I don't know if they want whoever's still in the meeting.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Melanie, is it me? Okay.
Oh, did you? No, it's not you. It's not you. It's somebody else.
Oh, then it might be someone else.
Yeah. All right. So whatever. I gave the opportunity. Joanne or somebody made a motion to adjourn.
I did.
I second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Everyone have a good
8:03
night.
p.m.
Everyone,
Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good
Talk to you
night.
later. Bye, Tiz.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye now.
Do I want to
Bye.
leave?